Humber Wave Radio 106.9.
To Hull and Back podcast, yes, and Tiger Talk here on Humber Wave Radio. Eddie right here with you, along with my usual suspects, we'll call them, because the usual suspects has just been on the radio. It certainly has, and it's good to have you all along as usual. Evening, Joe.
Good evening, Eddie. Good evening, listeners.
How's you, Joe?
Fantastic, mate. I was explaining to you, I've just had an Indian takeaway that cost me £3. I'm loving life.
Can't go wrong at that, can you? Are you jealous, Paul?
Well, it's not bad, is it? £3 for an Indian takeaway. That's not bad, is it? Yeah, we'll
Not
have to
bad
all go around to
Joe's. Everybody round to Joe's. Enjoy this Indian takeaway. Yeah, that'll be good. And how's you tonight, Christian?
Yeah, doing real well. I'm actually kind of jealous. What, £3? I mean, you can't even buy a couple of poppadoms for that these days, can you? So...
You certainly can't. You certainly can't. I mean, Christian, I think you had a big takeaway as well because you've only just joined us.
Yeah, no, I've been busy with work, so it's one of those. It's been a big grind, been a very, very long grind. I think if I start stumbling my words, I do apologise in advance. I think I'm running on about 4.5 hours sleep in the last 3 days. So I do apologise. That's why these beautiful bags are mine for those that can actually watch us live. Yeah, apologies already in advance.
Where's hair and makeup, Christian? Did they not come
That's
round?
it, hair and makeup when you need it. Where's the budget? Call the manager.
The gang are all here. Christian's not looking his best for anybody on the radio. I'm not looking my best, but that's just a general weekly thing, so don't worry about that too much. And if you want to get in touch with us tonight, you can either comment on here on the podcast, or you can WhatsApp us on 01482 772 663. I'll try and be proactive this week and answer your messages and put your messages out on air if you do WhatsApp me. I know I'm useless some weeks, so I do apologise for that. Anyway, we've obviously had a bit of an international break. Good win for England, 5-0.
Yeah.
Full second half performance, really, after the sending off. Some good goals. And nice to see our very own Jared Bowen getting his first goal for England, I would have said.
Yeah, after a few seconds on the pitch as well. Literally first touch, what was it, 30 seconds?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Like, and to be honest, the run on to the ball from the cross and that first time hit, yeah, beautiful. And
yeah, it was excellent.
I miss it. I miss it so much. I miss it.
I think we'd all be lying if we said we didn't miss it, Christian. I mean, you know, that talent you can remember. We've talked about it numerous times here already on Tiger Talk, where we lost Kamil Grzycki and Jared Bowen in that season, and it really cost us. But you know, as you say, you miss it and you miss the technique. You know, he's for me, he's not had enough England time. What do you think, Joe?
I think he's been a victim this season of West Ham's poor form, even though individually he's been fantastic, and it fell into place for him with a load of people dropping out, a load of players dropping out, and he's benefited from it. He's got his first England goal, so he's not going to complain, is he?
Does it give Thomas Tuchel something to think about?
I think every England player wants to give Thomas Tuchel something to think about, and if he continues his individual form, then there's no reason he can't get back in that England fold when a load of players don't drop out under the new manager. But this international break, I saw one report put it down to the fact Tuchel wasn't involved. It's nothing to do with that at all for me. I just think it's the fact it's the third international break of the season, and we're in November. We've had an international break, September, October, November. Why? How? No one really cares about the Nations League. It's been fantastic for San Marino. It's been, brilliant for them to score some goals and get some wins, and they've been promoted to the next league up in the Nations League. But the players, when it's so full on in the sense that there's 3 international breaks in 3 months, they're not going to care about it. Us fans don't really care about it. And it begs the question, why have FA Cup replays being scrapped in this country, for example, when they'll all go off on their post-season tours to Indonesia, which are way more straining for the big 6 clubs, where all of this stems from, than Shrewsbury Town and Lincoln City playing an FA Cup second-round replay in the middle of December on a Tuesday night. So if game management is really an issue, then UEFA and FIFA need to look at themselves and say, right, yeah, World Cup qualifiers and Euros qualifiers are needed, but is the Nations League really needed, especially in 3 consecutive months of the season? I'm not sure.
All about the money, Paul, isn't it?
I tend to agree. I tend to agree with Joe, to be quite honest. I don't think anybody's that interested. Obviously, you want to be in the higher, playing the better teams. I understand that, but it's sort of replaced friendlies, hasn't it? And people dropping out makes a big issue now, sort of this Nation League, where with friendlies, nobody would be really that bothered if half a dozen dropped out. I just think at the end of the day, it's just trying. I don't know what it's trying to achieve, to be quite honest. Realistically, I know it's trying to make the matches more, having a go at each other and trying things. But I think a lot of teams sort of struggle to get the best players out. And I'm sure the clubs don't want it. You aren't telling me all these players who dropped out had big injuries. If it had been a Saturday for the club, I reckon a fair few of them would have played. It's England, and they can't, they can pull off a little bit of a fast one, really, and not play them. And I don't see the point in playing it all. I mean, World Cup qualifiers and Euro qualifiers, great. If you want to bung the odd friendly in here or there, maybe for 1 month, for maybe October or something. But as you say, we start the season. Within about 3 weeks, there's a stoppage for a week or so. Next one, getting moving, another stoppage. And it's just ridiculous. It'll affect some teams, because some teams will be doing pretty well, and all of a sudden they've lost they've lost the sort of impetus. And other teams who might help them, but I just think there's too many breaks. I think 1 break between September and Christmas would be fine. I think 3 is ridiculous.
I agree with you. I think it is difficult, and it's difficult to sort of it's difficult to get a run. And obviously, the players going away on international duty, some of them. I mean, one of ours is playing tonight, isn't he? If I remember rightly. So they're going to come back in late to the fold. And when they come back in late to the fold, then they're probably not available for the game because they've flown halfway around the world. They've got jet lag. And, to put them into your team on the Saturday, 3:00 kickoff, it's going to be difficult, isn't it? So I do think that all these breaks are probably hampering different teams. I'm not saying our teams. The problem with our team is because we've got players on international duty. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, it will be hard on some teams who have a few players that are coming back that have flown halfway around the world and then are expected to play at 3:00 on a Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, well, it doesn't help any team. It doesn't help, when you're getting your players together, have 2 or 3 players not there. I don't think it helps, especially 3 times. It's only November now, isn't it? And it's the 3rd time since August. It's ridiculous, So I just think, as I said earlier, 1 break. If you want to have a break, maybe middle of October, fair enough. And I think that'd do anybody.
No, I agree. I think that would do anybody. But anyway, yeah, well, as we said, it was a good win for England. Scored 5 goals. It was nice to see a few goals going from an England team. And let's hope that that's the start of Thomas Tuchel's era when he takes over next year and we start banging lots of goals in lots of games and we manage to win that 2026 World Cup. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
That'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
That'd be brilliant.
Absolutely lovely.
So yeah, we'll all be happy with Thomas Tuchel if he does that. All we can hope, just before you put your hand up, Joe, is that Thomas Tuchel, as a German, does a better job than the German that we've got at the moment.
Wow. Just on the England point. Let's move on.
Eddie! I thought we were going to have a happy one here. No, do this.
Well,
hey, we're all laughing
at
at
least till Christmas, don't it? Maybe into the new year with him. So I think, to be fair, we're just going to have to get behind it and hope it turns it around somehow, because obviously, it's looking at last week's sort of comments by John, he ain't going anywhere very soon. So I think we're just going to have to get on with it realistically and support the team, support the manager, and hope he turns it around, because unless they have a run of 3 or 4 defeats on the trot, I don't think he'll be going anywhere this side of January, to be quite honest.
It doesn't
Listening to him, I
seem
think
so.
he
As
thinks
you say, look, I wasn't going to mention it, but I thought I couldn't resist on that little note for Thomas Tuchel.
We've got a point to bring up about it, though, haven't we, down the line?
We were going to get onto it eventually, weren't we?
Well, possibly, but we've got bigger fish to fry tonight, and we've got the Great Escape. I remember that season well, the Great Escape season, and actually just staying out of the conference. And Joe, I mean, you bummed us off for going to the Great Escape last week, didn't you? You was the one that was lucky enough to click on the site at the right time and click the ticket at the right time. Or you know some people in the know, which I think it might be that, and you're not passing it. You're not passing it around to any of your friends here on Tiger Talk, is what I think, Joe. But there you go. Was it a good night?
It was a fantastic night. I forgot to book my ticket bang on 10 o'clock when they were released, actually. So I remembered while I was sat in the steam room at the gym. So I ran out the steam room, dried my hands a little bit, got my phone out my locker, booked the tickets, and then went back in. But no, it was a fantastic night. I mean, just going back to England quickly, Coxie mentions Liam Delap. He'll be Harry Kane's successor for England.
He could certainly be. He's doing really well in the Premier League.
He's had at Ipswich has been fantastic. But back to the Great Escape, there were a lot of fantastic stories told there. Matt Green,
is there something you can say on the radio, Joe?
Yes, I think so.
Good, I'm glad.
So, I've got in my little tagline here on the video version of this: an evening with the Jamaicans, please, City. That would be Theo Whitmore and Ian Goodison coming in for an evening. Maybe Casey Palmer in there as well, because he's technically Jamaican. Well, he is Jamaican. He's playing for the Jamaican national team at the moment. So, and I mentioned that because Warren Joyce told the story of signing the Jamaicans the year after the Great Escape. So we were playing Swansea, and Warren Joyce was walking up to the dugouts, and sat in his chair in the Hull City dugout was Walter Boyd, who had played for Jamaica at the World Cup. And he says to him, are you Walter Boyd? Have I got this right? Walter Boyd goes, oh, yeah, I am. I'm just on trial at Swansea. Well, Warren Joyce goes then, oh, all right. Well, if it don't work out, we'll have you. So they play the game or whatever. Warren Joyce is in the car park after the game, and Walter Boyd and his agent come up to him. And the agent just sort of says, look, we haven't got anything for you for Walter, but I've got two other lads. Who are over in Jamaica at the moment who want to come over. Could I interest you in those? And then he said Theodore Whitmore and Ian Goodison. So Warren Joyce goes, oh yeah, that's fantastic. Fly them over. They get a flight from Kingston, Jamaica, into London, train up to Hull, and then they stick them on a bus to go and play a reserve game in Hartlepool, I think it was. And Warren Joyce described it as he was in the dugout for the reserves game that day because he thought, I can't miss this. I've got to see what these two are like. So they've been travelling all this time. They go to play a reserves game and it's bitterly cold. But it's the sort of cold where us English people who are used to it can handle it just. Maybe a long sleeve top, a little jacket over it. But he says these lads came out in hat, scarves, gloves, full bench coats, the lot, and ended up impressing and signing them. Then Gary Brabin and Justin Whittle actually told a story about how the Jamaicans would never. This was prompted by someone asking when the questions were put to the floor, a basic question of, right, who was the best dressed, who was the worst dressed, who was the first into training, who was the longest in the shower, that kind of thing. Just answer those quick fire questions. And Justin Whittle starts saying there's another story about the Jamaicans here. So they would never, ever shower with the team. No matter what state they were in, they would just put their clothes back on and they'd be straight out. But there was one, I think it was after one game, it was like a bog, the pitch. They were covered in mud and they just, like the two of them, they just sort of like took the shirts off, wrapped the towel around them. You saw the shorts go down to the ankles, and Justin Whittle was like, hang on, lads, that they're actually like showering with us as a team. This is a once in a lifetime thing. So they go in, Gary Brabin goes in afterwards and then immediately runs back out and goes, "Oh my God, lads, you got to come and see this." And I think you know what happens next. And they never ever showered with the team again after that. But Gary Brabin is honestly such a fantastic personality. There's a video City released of him celebrating a goal where he's pulled his shirt up and you can see his six pack. And Steve Wilson asks Gary, "Have you still got that?" He goes, "No, it looks more like a keg."
He is definitely a character, Gary Brabin. Whitmore, absolutely what a player on his day, and Goodison, great defender too. You know, you watch both. I watched both of them. I enjoyed watching both of them. There was both great players for Hull City, and as you said, they were cold people, though. They did feel the cold a lot, and you could always see that when it gets to them colder months of the year and they're not so keen on playing. The warmer months, our warmer months, obviously it's still freezing to them, but our warmer months, it's, you know, they're not too bad with. But yeah, I mean, the Great Escape team, he had a great team, really, didn't he? And they all bought into what he wanted to do. He took over, obviously, from Hateley, didn't he? And then, you know, he's inherited this team and he's brought a few players in and he managed to, you know, just steer them away from relegation that season, which was no mean feat.
It was a turnaround,
No,
and a half,
definitely not.
though, wasn't he? It was an absolute turnaround. Like, I remember, I remember everything about that season. And I just, up to Christmas especially, and you were gutted.
Yeah.
You were absolutely gutted. And it wasn't a case of you were angry or upset. You just felt, oh, come on. You knew there was more to us. And it was one of those seasons where it was literally after, New Year? And after that, it was like watching a completely different team, especially from the defense. The defense-wise as well for that season. You were just excited from the build-up all the way going forward. It was like watching a load of roadrunners getting that ball up. Seriously, my dog wouldn't have chased the ball that fast if I threw it. It was one of those, we were hunting everything down. And
what did Warren say about how the turnaround happened, Joe?
He just sort of said in January he took over and he, one, needed players, and two, needed some sort of team cohesion. And the players he brought in, he said, he was asked the question, is the one player you missed out on? And he sort of says, well, no, because I wouldn't want to change the way that group interacted with each other. And it was such a great dynamic that he wouldn't want to risk bringing someone else in who would have rocked that boat. So he didn't really give an answer to that question. But the players that came in the January, there was, Gary Brabin. Did David Brown come in that January? I know he scored a lot of goals in the second half of the season. There was John Whitney and Perry.
Yeah.
And Gary Brabin actually told the story of how just before he came to us, he was on loan at Lincoln from Blackpool. And as he joined Lincoln, he had a meeting with Warren Joyce before, and he was sort of like, he says, right, I'm still interested here, but Blackpool just loaned him out. And as he was going into Lincoln, in that dressing room, just about to sign for Hull City, were Jason Perry and John Whitney. And he says to the two lads as they were going out, "Oh, when you get there, can you tell Warren I'm still interested?" And Warren Joyce came in for him, and the rest is history. And he says, I can't imagine Lincoln were too happy with that. I think he played 4 games for Lincoln on loan before he came to us. And he also told the story, Gary Brabin, about how he didn't really want to leave. He said he sort of regretted leaving, and he went to Torquay after he left us. He's played a game for Boston United, then he went to Torquay. That was his next big move. And Mikey Edwards is the assistant manager of Torquay at the minute. And as he mentions Torquay, Gary Brabin turns to Michael Edwards, sat down, goes, "When they were in the league, Mikey, And the room burst into laughter at that. He then says, I played 7 games for Torquay and I was sent off in 2 of them, which is the most Gary Brabbin thing ever. He's got 2 different jobs on the go at the minute. He's sporting director at TNS, the New Saints in Wales, in the UEFA Europa Conference League at the moment. He's assistant manager at Oldham Athletic. If I've got this right, there's an ex-City player there. I'm just trying to look at who it is. It's Sam Clucas. There we go. Sam Clucas working under Gary Brabbin there, which is a pair I bet you never thought you'd see together. And he's also, from time to time, a nightclub bouncer. And
surprise, eh?
I know. You sort of look at him, turn up, he's bald, really stocky, imposing. You think, right, that's a man I've seen on a club door.
What's your memories of that season, Paul?
Well, I think a lot of credit's got to go to Warren Joyce. I think he's obviously got the players together and he's got a team spirit. I think that's the defining thing, that they got a team spirit together, really good, under bad circumstances, struggling to stay in the league, which I think would have been a massive blow for Hull City had we gone down. And I think, he's got to take a lot of plaudits for the way he got the team together. Obviously got some players in he wanted, and they've gelled as a team. And he's, as you said, he didn't want to get anybody else to sort of mess it all up, or possibly mess it up, let's say. And I think, a real lot of plaudits have got to go to him for it, to keeping the team together. And, it's fantastic they stayed up. It was, it looks as though there wasn't going to, didn't it? But they managed to pull it round. And, as I say, I think Warren Joyce deserves loads of plaudits for it, because I think it had been a disaster for City to go down that season. I don't know if Mark Hateley was the right fit, to be quite honest. He was, I don't think he'd been thingied as a manager or anything like that particularly. And I think,
on Mark Hateley, Paul, he got a lot of mentions throughout the night and the crowd started booing a little bit. And Alex Burgess just sort of says, well, hang on, let's just leave it. Let's just leave that where it is now. No more booing. And I think it was Mark Greaves told the story that every day Mark Hateley would walk into training and he'd have on his wrist a watch that he was given, and it had engraved on the bottom of it it was for Franco Baresi's testimonial. And he says he'd sort of get that out and just say, all right, look at this. In terms of, they all said, in terms of a player in your playing career, Mark Hateley is one of the best on paper to have ever been at Hull City, just because he played for England and had a lot of success. But in terms of a manager, they all says what you say there, Paul, that Matt Greaves used those exact words. He just wasn't the right fit. But
yeah,
I mean, I'll let you finish, but I've got another
tale
about Warren Joyce as well.
To be fair, I think, it's a good job to turn to him, because, they could have gone, I suppose they could have gone after somebody else that they might have thought would have been a better, but you sometimes need that sort of person who's really really interested in the club and, to kick it on a little bit, I think. And I think that's them sort of circumstances when, you're looking as though you're possibly going out of the league. You've got to have somebody who's really got a backbone for the club, I think. And I think Warren Joyce did have. And I think, all the plaudits should go, not all of them, but the plaudits should go down to him for doing an excellent job, at a time when we really needed somebody to step up to the mark.
You've got to say that Mark Hateley was just there. I think it was the name more than anything that he was the manager at Hull City, and that was why they took him, was the name more than anything. And as you say, Paul, the thing with it is that you've seen our neighbours Grimsby and Scunthorpe. I mean, Scunthorpe are still, not anywhere near being back in the, normal leagues. Grimsby, it took them God knows how long to get back into the normal league. So you're right, it was amazing that we stayed up that season, because you never know how long it's going to take you to get back into the Football League, because it's a really hard thing to get out of that conference. I mean, I've watched Welcome to Wrexham, and to watch them, with all the money they had and everything behind them, it was still really difficult for them to get out of the conference and up into the Football League. They're obviously really doing well now, but it took them a while, and it took a lot of money and things like that to get them back up. What's your thoughts, Christian?
Well, that's the thing, ended on where he said it took a lot of money and things to go back up. You got to remember, David Lloyd at the time was, well, we were almost bankrupt.
Well,
We were like new lock on the gate situation. It was that dire. And to say how, like, under Joyce's stewardship, let's call it, to do what he did, it's just remarkable. It was remarkable. It was just chalk and cheese of before Christmas and after. I say Christmas, the New Year and after the New Year, because it was what January was the win streak, let's call it, or the lack of no losses, and it was the full style of play changed for me. And I don't understand because I was there witnessing and watching it. But to say, like, behind the scenes with all the pressure that was on the club, you can't say it wasn't amazing. Like, nobody can. That's why it is called the greatest game. Why we talk about it now to this day is because
four wins before Christmas.
4 wins before Christmas.
4 wins before Christmas, yeah. And then after Christmas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wins after Christmas.
There you go. I mean, I'm going to have to double check this myself. I'll find it now. But, I mean, it was a streak. It was without a loss as well. I swear it was something close to like...
Yeah, no, when I'm looking at this, there was... in January, we had a win against Rotherham, win against Hartlepool, we drew against Peterborough, we drew against Shrewsbury, and then start of February, we won against Brentford. We lost the next game against Rochdale, but then we had two wins and 2 draws after that as well. So, as I say, only 4 losses in the after Christmas. Yeah. So what a turnaround that is, you know, from where we were to where we ended up. Absolutely brilliant.
And you've got to think about the home crowd as well at the time as well. I mean, we were pushing. During the losses,
it was about 1,000, wasn't it? But unofficially,
the average crowd looking at this at home was about 5,500, 6,000. In that season
for the full season, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
So pre that, I've just loaded it up down myself now. Other than the Cardiff City game, your average was 3,000 as an average.
Yeah.
After, from January all the way to the end of the season, your average was pushing 6,000. So that obviously says something about the style of football. It was more attractive to watch.
Yeah,
it was a lot more. And to double, I know obviously people go to watch your team win more often than they don't turn up when you're losing. That's a discussion that we can speak about the current situation coming up forward. But right now we're talking about this. You've got to think it was magic to watch the difference. It was so different. Oh my God, I still remember turning up at Boothry. Sorry, Boothry gives me those little...
Yeah, I mean, Boothry was great, wasn't it? Boothry was great. I've got here...
Gary Brabin actually said, Eddie.
Would we have been at MKM if it hadn't been for the Great Escape?
We might be looking
Probably not. And Gary Brabin actually said, when he was sat in that room, he goes, this place it's a fantastic stadium, but it still doesn't feel right for me. I still associate Hull City with Boothby Park.
Yeah,
and to me, this is just like an event space. But where those houses stand now, that's Hull City for me. That's his recollection.
Listen, I think anybody that went to Boothby Park and enjoyed going to Boothby Park, you know, as much as the MKM Stadium's got us more supporters, it's a lovely stadium. You know, you never get the atmosphere like you did at Boothby Park. Andrew's been in touch on the WhatsApp, and he said he thinks there was 10,000 against Scarborough. Well, Andrew, there was 13,949 game against Scarborough that day, and it ended up as a 1-1 draw, and our very own Gary Brabin scored the goal on that game. He scored a few goals in that season, to be fair, but thanks for getting in touch, Andrew. He remembers Mark Hateley also scoring at Scarborough, and he said that he celebrated like he'd scored the winner in a Milan derby. So, yeah, there's Mark Hateley for you. Thanks for getting in touch, Andrew. See, I said I'd read out the WhatsApp if I got some tonight, didn't I?
Kept his promises.
Kept me promise. There you go.
Final thing I want to say on Warren Joyce, he was asked the question about his near return to the club in about 2010, 2011 time when the Alams took over.
Yeah.
Whether it was, I'm not sure when this was, whether it was when Pearson was sacked and was replaced by Nick Barmby, or whether it was when Barmby was sacked and replaced by Bruce. I'm not sure. That wasn't really made clear. But Warren Joyce said that he was reserve manager at Man United at the time. And when he took that job, he was sat down by Sir Alex Ferguson during the sort of interview process and he said, look, I don't want someone to take this reserve manager's job just to further their own career and get a job further, like higher up in club management, first team management. I don't want that. I want someone who's committed to do this job and to help me and to help these young players and to help the fringe players. And Warren Joyce says, "Oh yeah, Sir Alex, that's absolutely why I'm here. I just want to work here, to be honest." And he got the job from Hull City, and he said he got the offer from Hull City, and he said he really, really wanted to come back. But it was his promise to Sir Alex that he wouldn't use that job to further his career that stopped him coming back and kept him at Man United. And that, to me, was another sort of quite telling moment of, you hear all these stories about how Sir Alex commanded respect. You know, Roy Keane talks about it. All these ex-pros, all these ex-players who played for him talk about it. But that, for me, just sort of really stood out in terms of what Sir Alex meant to the people who worked with him and sort of just how much people respected him. Because a reserve team manager, with, you know, the greatest of respect to the job Warren Joyce was doing at the time, in the grand scheme of things, that's quite a dispensable job at a football club. You can change those around and promote from within or do whatever. But the fact Warren Joyce kept that promise to Sir Alex showed sort of real integrity as a one, and two, just what respect Sir Alex Ferguson commanded from those who worked with him.
No, it certainly does, and it shows the man of Warren Joyce, you know, actually sticking to his word, because you'd have had a lot of managers in that position that wouldn't have stuck to the word, and they would have come because obviously, you know, I know a reserve team manager for Man United is quite a prominent job, but a first team manager for a championship club would have been a higher job than reserve team manager at Man United. So it shows the integrity that he's got, and, you know, the man that he is. And obviously that's why for that second half of the season, we did so well in that Great Escape. And, you know, we're here in the championship struggling because of it.
We can't blame Warren Joyce for us struggling because of it, but I know what you mean, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We are in
you
the
know what I'm saying?
championship, aren't we? Which we could have still been stuck in.
We could. We are in the championship, and we are struggling. And, you know, as we said, I mean, we're not going to... I don't want to dwell on it too much, because I watched the To Hull and Back podcast episode on Sunday, and obviously it was heavily talked about, you know, Jung coming out and saying and backing the manager and saying that he's keeping the manager. As you said, Paul, we've probably, unfortunately, got to, you know, sit on our hands and back the manager until the owner decides that it's time's up.
I think it is a case of getting behind the team and the manager. I think, you know, the owners come out and, you know, it doesn't look, unless he, as I say, has a really, really bad 5 or 6 match defeats, you know, then there might be a change. But to me, at the moment, it's looking the earliest will be January. And if he turns it around a bit, obviously it won't happen then, you know, unless, and, you know, it seems that Johnny's quite an honest type of guy. So I think he's going to stick by him till after that. And I think all this criticism of him, and I understand the criticism of him, I think we've got to, you know, put it on the back burner and get behind the team, and hopefully they'll turn the results around. Obviously, if they don't, that's up to a John to make his decision. That's what I think. I mean, you know, no matter how much criticism you get him, he ain't going to get rid of him, is he? It's down to results, I'm sure, and he'll need to start winning a few games, or his job will be on the line, I'm sure, by Christmas. But we've got to, as supporters, support the team and, you know, the manager, and let's hope he gets us out of this situation we're in. I don't say he will, but let's hope he does.
Got to start at Luton, hasn't it, Christian?
Yeah, it was meant to start a couple of weeks ago. Look, let's be fair. I'm with you, Paul, when it comes to Ajin. I'm going to praise him for this. Well done for sticking with your manager. Well done for highlighting the facts of how hard it is for him at the moment, being I mean, he's laid it on the table. He understands he's got a brand spanking new team. He understands that his transfers didn't pay off his gambles at the beginning of the season for a striker. He's acknowledged that. So, Ajin, well done. My concern is after that, with respect to Walter, because he's going to say, look, we're going to try our hardest in January, even though it's going to be a really big struggle. That they were literally the simplest version of what Ajin said. We're going to try and get players in, but it's going to be difficult. And he acknowledged that with league position, finances, and everybody in the league is going to be always looking for that messiah of a striker. They always are in the January. Say we do get a striker. Say we do get a few players. And obviously the transfer market finishes at the end of January. He's still going to have is Ajin literally going to go on the very first day of the transfer market being open and get as a player and a striker?
Well, you see,
is it going to be the last day?
He wants to just buy more players when that's not
exactly that. No, yeah, well, and I agree with that, Joe.
There's 2 points here. There's a sustainability point where there's Tyrell Sellers-Fleming here. We've signed Mason Burstow on a 4-year deal. You're not going to put faith in them. And then it's, more positions in sort of, like he said, he'll look for another number 6 in January. What? So Rocco Coyle's just going to be sat about doing nothing then, is he? Use him as squad depth. We've got more than enough central midfielders. You don't need to sign another one. Stephen Alzate's not played yet. So we might not even need a new one. And we can just have enough cover there in Alzate, Slater, Simons, Puerta, Palmer, Malem, Amur. And because he wants to sign these players in January to try and help Tim again, makes me feel like no matter what, we can get no points out of the next possible 12 against Luton, Sheff Wednesday, Borough and Blackburn. And to me, it won't matter. It should matter, but I don't think it will, just because Adjan has already said we're going to go out in January, we're going to try and get a striker, we're going to try and get another number 6 while Zambrano's banned. And all the while, we're not picking up any more points, not picking up any more wins, and the manager's still going to be here.
With respect to like the January transfer market saying he needs a midfielder to cover Zambrano, that's a ridiculous statement. We don't even bloody use the midfielders we've got. So let's get this right. We don't even need another midfielder, and we've still got spares within the club that do have the ability to do it. So yes, it is a waste of money to midfielder. Nah, stupid one. Potential cover for a winger now with obviously the guys that have been injured. A loan market. Loan, because you don't want to go out and do another purchase for a winger, because when Bloomies and Miller's ACL and they've got back into training at the beginning over the holidays of next season and to start next season, if you've got another permanent winger, then you're going to go through all this competition malarkey all over again. So I understand going into the loan market. Obviously, we all agree on the striker, but again, we're not going to act straight away. We're going to we're going to hold out and play the gamble game. End of January, finally get somebody. Then he's not going to get rid of Walter straight away, because he's going to understand it's going to take a couple of weeks, a couple of months to sort
to get the striker bedded in.
Exactly. So by that time we're in March.
We're at March international break.
Exactly.
Is it not best then, Christian? Because I'm with Joe here. Is it not best to, just sort of say, let's stick with what we've got. Let's use some of the youth team. Let's bring them up a little bit. Let's get them into the side. I'm with you. Sellers-Fleming, for me would be a great one to have around the squad, and I'd probably give him a little bit of time. I don't think Bairstow's had any time, but I do think, obviously, because João Pedro's been scoring, he's scored in the last 2 games, you probably got to start him. I don't think he's doing a lot wrong, to be honest. He's playing like a striker should do.
The thing is, with Pedro, he can, he'll have one chance a game, like he has done against Pompey and he has done against West Brom, he's had one chance in the game, in the box, it's fallen to him and he's scored it.
Yeah.
It's been crossed into him perfectly and he's scored it. He's had one chance in those games. You can't expect him to put away that one chance week after week after week if we're only creating one chance for him.
No, and it brings me to the thing with his comments on Will Jarvis. I think Will Jarvis has been badly done to be quite honest with you, because he's been dragged back from Shelbourne. He could have won the league with Shelbourne. He's been brought back because he's covering and stuff like that, and then to be like you have been with him and to call him out and to say that he's not finding him training properly or something. I don't like that, to be quite honest with you. I think that there's a player in there. I think that he's possibly one of our best attacking threats when he gets on the ball. And I was surprised when he wasn't on the bench, was he, against West Brom even?
No.
Nope.
I can't understand a player that's a little bit different to the other players that you've got in the team didn't get on your bench, because he could have changed the game for me. And I think that there's times that he can. You're obviously not agreeing with me, Christian.
No, I'm not. I'm really not.
That's all right. It's all about opinions. Yours is wrong, man. Right?
No, look, I disagree with how Tim came about and said it. I do. I'm with you on that one. I do disagree with how it came around and Tim saying that. But look, there is a player there, as in ability, but I don't think his mentality is there. I mean, it comes across when he played.
Can I just ask before you go into this, is it not the mentality thing because of how he got brought back to the club and he missed out on what he could have had? Has that not affected his mentality? He's a young lad.
He is a young lad. Yes, I agree. And the mentality of being dragged back and didn't want to be brought back, I get it. But you're a professional footballer that gets paid a hell of a lot more than we do sat here. And your job is to play football. That's it. Your job is to train, turn up, and play a game professionally. Your mentality is, I'm getting paid to play a game. Yes, all right, you're not where you want to be. But if you're not giving 110% in that game or training that you're employed for, you're telling me with my job, if I didn't do my job and I had a face on and I was sulking about.
Hey, we saw him just before 7 o'clock, people, I can tell you. He was sulking, he had a face on, and he also gets paid for playing games. I can tell you that for nothing.
And I can tell you now, I still do it with a smile on my face. Afterwards, in my own time's different. Afterwards, in my own time's a different kettle of fish. But when I turn up, I'm buzzing. I am a buzzing man.
I think, to be honest, on the Jarvis thing, I think when he's brought back, he should have just accepted it. At the end of the day, it's a higher league. Obviously, at the time, it looked as though there was putting faith in him. I think he should have come back a little bit happier than that. And I want to stop at Shelbourne or wherever. I don't agree. I agree with Christian. He should be happy to play. He's a young lad. He should be happy to play for Hull City. He's a Hull City player, and I don't think he should be coming. If he isn't training well, let's say, I don't think he should have said that personally. But if he isn't, he should be. They are paid quite a decent wage. The job's not a bad job. I think most people would be quite happy to be a professional footballer, and just to say, well, I'd rather be at Shelbourne than Hull City, I don't think that's really right. I think the thing on Walter, I think he's got to get his best team out there. I think he's got to start thinking, what is my best team? And I'm going to play this team for 4 or 5 games because I think these are the players who can get us the results. I think this chopping and changing every week. I mean, the other week Jarvis was on the bench. This last week he wasn't. That sort of thing. I think he's got to start sorting out what he thinks is his best team and giving him a run of 4 or 5 games to prove it. Because obviously there's no Balumi coming back or Miller, so he's stuck with what he's got now, and he won't get a change until sometime in January, probably towards the end, as you say, Christian. So I think, to be honest, he's just got to suck the eggs and get a team out there that he thinks is his best team.
Kamara back in training this week, so he could be back probably on the bench, I would think, on Saturday. But Andrew says, could we go for Lewis Barry, who's on loan at Stockport from Aston Villa? He scored 11 in 16 for Stockport. Supposedly we have a good relationship with Villa. Could we get him in the January transfer window? I don't know.
But that's
Louis Barry wouldn't want to leave Stockport, I don't think. He was there last year. He's back there this year. I think he'll want to get promoted to the Championship from League One with Stockport and potentially go back there next year. Who knows? But I think the chances of us managing to prize him away from one loan, moving out to another, as nice it would be, he's a good player, are very, very slim.
So it's Luton on Saturday, a 3:00 kickoff away at Kenilworth Road. They're not doing too well, Luton, but obviously, Kenilworth Road's a small ground. It'll have a lot of their supporters in. It's going to be a big atmosphere. It's going to be tough to get a win there, and it's the one that we do need a win for, Christian, isn't it?
Of course it is. I mean, hopefully Tim doesn't turn around and praise their supporters at this one, but... look, with this international break, I'm just hoping, and I hoping's not even anywhere near the right word. I'm praying that we've come up with some sort of different, I don't want to say tactical arrangement, but Tim's looked at the players he's got, and like you've said, we've all just said it previously, and had a look at people like Cyrus Fleming and players that can play off each other. Because, like, Pedro can't do it by himself at all. The one man up front with the players you've got, he's got to look at the players he's got around and within the squad and the club. And hopefully he's come up with some sort of tactical arrangement to just mix it up a bit. Make it exciting again.
Do you see that happening, Paul?
I don't think he'll change his way he plays. No, I mean, to be honest,
Exactly.
He's setting his ways into. He's played that way for so long. He ain't going to change it too much. I think we have been a little bit unlucky recently in the games. I mean, the West Brom game sticks out an own goal, and we've missed an easy header to make it 2-2. So he has been a little bit unlucky. And obviously on the striker front, as you say about João Pedro, he can't just get one chance a game and score it, surely. That would be nearly impossible. So we've got to start creating a few more chances. I think the midfield, we've got to start using the midfield a little bit more. And obviously, I don't think things will change too much, but I think it'll go two ways this after the international break. Either Luton will turn up as the Luton from last year and the year before, or they'll be, we'll turn up a lot better team and take them apart. So I'm hoping it's the latter, obviously, but I don't think things will change too drastically. His system is his system. He come with that system. Ajun likes that system. He knew about it, and he thinks we'll get out of it. But we need a few wins under our belts to make us feel a little bit more safer that we'll get out of this situation. I think it could be, a dire sort of run up to Christmas, to be quite honest.
What's he do to shore this defence up?
I hope I'm wrong.
What's he do to shore this defence up then, Joe?
Sorry, that was definitely with passion. That one, Joe. You knew.
I mean, he's the manager. No, I'm kidding.
The thing is, we've got four good defenders, haven't we? When you look at Louis Coyle, Alfie Jones, Hughes, and obviously
Drama.
he's going to stick with Drama at left back, isn't he? It's not a bad defensive line, that is it? I think other Championship clubs would be happy with that defensive line.
Well, last season, you just plug different players in, really. If we look at the end of last season, Cody Drama, even on his weak side, is an upgrade on Matty Jacob. And, Charlie Hughes or Jacob Greaves, it's always going to be Greaves for now. But the problem necessarily, if we want to show the defence up, is not change the players in the defence. I think you have to put someone in alongside Simons as a double pivot rather than a single, whether that's Alzate now he's fit, or you drop Slater deeper. But the problem is, Tim is happy conceding a goal a game because his theory is, all right, we'll just outscore them. If they score one, we'll score two. But we're not doing that. It's all right saying that we're going to do that, but we haven't. We just, the fact of the matter is we cannot do it. When you concede one, you have to score two at least to win the game. That's a bit of a Michael Owen punditry comment, but it's fact. And we can't seem to score more than one goal, in a game.
Well,
So,
we have to once, because at the moment our goals for are 16 and we've played 15 games. The unfortunate thing is that the goals against is 20. So with that, you can't win, can you?
In the league. I don't think we're the worst defence in the league.
No, we aren't the worst defence in the league. If you look at Portsmouth, they've had 28 scored against them. Plymouth, 26 scored against them. Sheff Wednesday, 25. Cardiff, 23. QPR, 25. Luton, 26 against them. So the defence, the thing, it's, obviously scoring goals. Luton have scored one more goal than us this season, but they have conceded 6 more. So they are on a worse run than us, but obviously, it's still difficult to play Luton at home after the international break. As you say, Paul, they could come back as the Luton from last season, or they could come back and, it could be Hull City's day, which is what we're all hoping for, because, as we've all said, we all need a win, don't we? We definitely need a win.
Yeah, definitely a win.
Well, I think 4 points out of the next 2 games is a must myself. I don't know how we get the 4 points. Like, that's there.
I'll be honest with you, Paul. What I would be happy with is a 0-0. And it sounds stupid.
Yeah.
But I don't want to concede anymore.
Yeah, haven't we?
Yeah.
I've got one clean sheet all year, and that's what it stems from, isn't it, Christian?
Yeah. Well, that's it. I just want a 0-0. Look, I know we're going to struggle to score. Obviously, we would love to win. I'd love it. But I am fed up of conceding. I am. And I don't blame the defence. I really don't blame the defence. I think Harry said something in the on YouTube here, losing the men from the deep runners. Of course, we're losing the men from the deep runners because our midfield aren't there to pick them up because they're playing as wingers or strikers at the moment. You can't. We're always going to concede from a deep run from an opposition team because you can't expect your centre backs or fullbacks to pick that up because they're concentrating on the ball coming from the wing being crossed in, or the centre backs picking up the strikers that are running in. So who's meant to pick up these deep runners? There isn't anyone there.
It is a big 2 games, though, with Luton being level on points with us and Sheff Wednesday being 3 points above us. The 2 massive games for teams that are in and around us. And, as you say, Paul, I think you've got to do what Bruce does, draw away and win at home. And that's what we've got to be looking to do. And obviously we'll be doing the podcast the night after the game against Sheff Wednesday next week. It'd be nice to get the MKM rocking and a few goals scored and sending everybody home happy because, obviously it's Sheff Wednesday. It's going to be a big crowd. It's going to be at least 23,000 there, isn't it? You need to try and keep those people coming in because, I've heard of people cancelling the passes and it's not, people have a go at people cancelling passes and I don't have a go at people cancelling passes because, one, you're paying money to be entertained. At the moment, you're not being entertained. We haven't been entertained for quite a while at home. 2, it's a lot of money. However you look at it, whether we're the cheapest in the league or whether we aren't the cheapest in the league, it's a lot of money. I pay 40 quid a month for my pass. And I can afford it, but there'll be people out there who are thinking, can I really afford it? And is this entertaining me enough to be able to afford to pay for that? So I'm not going to have a go at anybody for cancelling the passes. If you want to cancel your pass because you're not enjoying it, then, so be it. And that has to be changed by the team and the manager to keep people from cancelling the passes because the only way they're going to keep them is by entertaining them.
I agree.
The fact of the matter is, at home, we haven't been entertained all year. It goes back to last season as well. We're 3 games at home, and we're nearing the end of November.
Yeah, and that's the thing with it, it is that I did come away from the game against West Brom a little bit happier, if that's the word. It's not the right word, but I came away a little bit happier than I had in some other games. I saw a little bit of fight in them. And I don't think
Yeah.
we've seen that enough this season. We haven't seen enough fight. Well, the full year, 2024, we've not seen enough fight in that team at home that, gets the crowd up. And even if they've had a bad game, I clapped them off. A lot of people stood and clapped them off on the last game because they'd seen a bit of fight in them. And I think we need to see that fight against Sheff Wednesday next Tuesday at home. Obviously, the Luton game before that. We've got about a minute and a half just over left of tonight's show. We've got any last comments, Joe, that we need to show?
Let's have a quick look. Neil says our defence isn't the problem, it's our attacking. Coxie says it'll be a scrappy game of two teams not wanting to lose, then we'll make the usual error and gift Luton a goal.
It could be right.
Could be very, very right. Des thinks Adrian can't afford to sack Tim because of FFP. I don't think that comes into FFP, but it's a fair point to make.
It is a fair point,
Football isn't an entertainment sport, it's about results. Even if played badly but win 1-0, I'll be happy. That's fair enough, but if the results don't come and it's not entertaining, which is the whole point as to why Adrian brought Tim in, if we're getting neither of those, you've got to wonder, why is he still here?
Yeah, you have got to wonder why he's still here.
We know it's results based, but you want to be entertained as well, don't you? You don't want to lose every game, win every game, lose every game 3-2 and be ultra entertained. But you don't want to be as poor as we've been this year at home. You've got to have a bit more about you, I think, than that. Even though I agree, results make a lot of difference, but you've still got to be entertained a little bit. I mean, I remember going to the Man United game when we was in the Premiership. It was the last game of the season, and I come away feeling depressed, and we'd stayed up because it was such a pathetic performance.
It was 20 seconds to go, Paul. I'm afraid I've got to cut you short. I'm afraid we've got 20 seconds less than that now. So we'll be back next Wednesday, 7 o'clock here on Humber Wave Radio and to Hull and Back podcast. You've been with me, Eddie Wright, Joe, Christian, and Paul. We'll be back next week from 7 o'clock. Have a great week, and let's hope for a Tigers win on Saturday.